We saw Bo-Katan Kryze come up empty-handed as Din Djarin walked onto the bridge of the Imperial Star Cruiser with the Darksaber from Moff Gideon. We worried. Is Bo-Katan Kryze, the former ruler of the Mandalorians, going to go crazy and challenge Din Djarin? Was she going to be the next villain in The Mandalorian Season 3? Well, that was Season 2. With The Mandalorian Season 3 already 2 episodes in, we can't help but backtrack, even just a little. The bitter Bo-Katan Kryze has turned into something different. Bo-Katan comes from a long line of Mandalorians. Her father was Duke Adonai Kryze, ruler of Mandalore during these Mandalorian civil wars. Her sister was Duchess Satine Kryze, ruler of Mandalore during the early to mid stages of the Clone Wars. During the time of Satine's rule, we're introduced to another Kryze, Korkie. Korkie Kryze was the nephew of Satine, but who were his parents? Did Bo-Katan have an estranged son, or is there another sibling to Bo-Katan and Satine? I made up a parentage for the young Mandalorian in my Jango Fett fan fictions, and no, it isn't Obi-Wan Kenobi and Satine. The story follows Korkie's parents, who were followers of the true Mandalorians, a real faction led by Jaster Muriel, then later Jango Fett. And that put all 3 Kryze siblings on opposing sides of the Mandalorian Civil War. Bo-Katan on the side of Death Watch, which she actually was, Satine Kryze on the side of the pacifist New Mandalorians, again, true to canon, and Korkie's parents on the side of the true Mandalorians. Other than that last made-up part, nothing is known about Korkie's lineage. I may one day make a video about Korkie, so let me know in the comments if you'd be interested. But yeah, I got sidetracked with a shameless plug. My bad. Back to it. In The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 2, Bo-Katan gives a short history of her family. She talks about being a spoiled princess and how her family had ruled Mandalore for quite some time. She then goes on to talk about the Purge of Mandalore. Briefly, she said something along the lines of the Empire wanted them wiped out for their nonconformity. This actually gives us a solid time frame for when the Night of 1,000 Tears happened, and it was roughly following the events that handed the Darksaber over to Bo-Katan in Star Wars Rebels, when the Mandalorians rose against Gar Saxon and his Imperial loyalists. So that leaves Bo-Katan as the last of the rulers of Mandalore. But what's happening now? Who has the right to lead Mandalorians? I know a lot of people are going to comment right away that Din Djarin has a Darksaber and that makes it his right to lead. Fair enough. That's what the current lore is. Bo-Katan even tells him to lead since he has the Darksaber. But hear me out. There's more to it than that. Before I dig deep into Bo-Katan Kryze, the Darksaber, and some theories I have, a quick word from our producer, me. Yeah, I changed my title. Apparently I can't be the sponsor of my own video. Yeah, sorry. Hit the subscribe button and give the video a big thumbs up. I'm on a voyage to hit 50,000 subscribers and I'd like you all to be a part of that journey. I know every YouTube channel asks for their subscription or your subscription, but I absolutely promise to deliver on my word. With me, you'll get the best Star Wars content YouTube has to offer, all original content. So let's keep it funky fresh together. Honestly, I don't know what that term means. I'll just keep it fresh for you as long as I'm able to make videos. How about that? Okay, enough rambling. Let's get back to some Mandalorian lore and theories. When The Mandalorian Season 2 finale aired, we got the feeling that Bo-Katan Kryze was going to be a threat to Din Djarin. After all, Mandalorians are known for their inner conflicts, and most, if not all, of these wars derive from one Mandalorian or another feeling like they are the legitimate rulers of Mandalore. But in Bo-Katan's case, there is a strong argument for her. Din Djarin knows nothing of Mandalorian history, beyond the limited information he's been fed by his faction, the Children of the Watch. Whatever the case, Bo-Katan Kryze was less than excited that Din Djarin ended up with the Darksaber from Moff Gideon. We could see it. She didn't hide it. But in The Mandalorian Season 3, she's a bit different. So why the sudden shift in her attitude? Well, it wasn't sudden. It's been confirmed that Grogu had been training with Luke Skywalker for about 2 years, so Bo-Katan has had at least that long to reflect on what went wrong, how she could deal with it, and how her destiny has changed. When Din Djarin visits Bo-Katan in her castle, we see she's all alone, save for a droid servant. There are no Mandalorians surrounding her as they had in the past. The Night Owls are no more, at least for now. But she's different than she was in The Mandalorian Season 2. Bo-Katan's attitude has shifted from one of anger to one of apathy. And not just that, but distrust. In The Mandalorian Season 2, Bo-Katan agreed to help Din Djarin rescue Grogu from Moff Gideon, but she asked for one thing in return: the Darksaber. She was to be the one to defeat Moff Gideon. This was the arrangement. In Bo-Katan's eyes, Din Djarin had gone against that deal. He defeated Moff Gideon and ended up winning the Darksaber for it. Now, it doesn't matter to Bo-Katan that it was all in the timing. Din Djarin just happened upon Moff Gideon and the fighting began. Bo-Katan was nowhere around them and Din Djarin had no choice but to defend himself. That didn't matter. To Bo-Katan, Din Djarin had betrayed her, and the apathy she felt when Din Djarin showed up in her castle wasn't due to past events. It was Bo-Katan coming to terms with a new realization. She isn't the spoiled princess she had once been. It was more like she was saying, "You won the Darksaber. You go take care of it. I don't care." She was perfectly fine with sitting in her misery and contemplating who she was now, but in her inaction, she was now going against the Mandalorian creed, the Rezulnari. When the Mandalore calls upon you, you are to join the cause. But her inaction would be redeemed when she saw Grogu alone, needing help for his father. What follows takes Bo-Katan Kryze's character to a whole new level. She was no longer the self-centered Mandalorian we had seen in Season 2. She was no longer sulking. Bo-Katan Kryze was a warrior. In The Mandalorian Season 2, we saw Bo-Katan as a warrior, but her actions didn't come without strings attached. "Before I tell you where to find the Jedi, you have to help me rob this ship of its weapons." "No, wait, you have to help me take the whole ship." "Before I help you rescue your son, you have to promise that I get to take on Moff Gideon." It was none of that this time. This time she went with Grogu to rescue Din Djarin without wanting something in return. When Bo-Katan realized that Din Djarin was incapacitated, she had every opportunity to finish him off and take the Darksaber for herself, thus defeating Din Djarin and rightfully winning the Darksaber. Although this action would have been dishonorable, she still had the chance. But if there's something we've known about Bo-Katan since the Clone Wars, is that she does carry a degree of honor. When Maul defeated Pre Vizsla and took over as the rightful leader of Death Watch, Bo-Katan split from the organization. But this wasn't before Bo-Katan was actually involved in the first plot to remove her own sister from power. Yeah, like I said, a degree of honor. Instead, she picked up the Darksaber and used it with a skill that was reminiscent of Pre Vizsla, whereas Din Djarin is still struggling with the Darksaber more than 2 years after obtaining it. After defeating the giant claw machine robot eye thing, Bo-Katan then volunteered to take Din Djarin to the living waters in the mines of Mandalore, again, without expecting anything in return. When Din Djarin sank to the bottom of the underground lake, Bo-Katan hopped in to save him, again risking her own life to save Din Djarin with nothing in return. This switch in Bo-Katan's attitude is huge. In the past, Bo-Katan saw other factions the same way most Mandalorians do. They're the enemy. While she still views the Children of the Watch as part of the problem, it's more about how their way of thinking aligns with how Bo-Katan used to think. Their logic just doesn't work anymore. To say one can't be a Mandalorian if they remove their helmet doesn't make sense to her. If they were just to cast Din Djarin out of their faction, it would be a little more understandable to Bo-Katan. Every faction has their set of sub-laws that must be followed, but these individual factions aren't the authority on who is a Mandalorian. By creating such a ridiculous rule for all Mandalorians is further fracturing the Mandalorians as a whole. How many Mandalorians have been cast out because of this rule? How many good Mandalorians that could stand up and help unite the clans? It's no secret that Bo-Katan has been involved in her fair share of factions that help divide Mandalorians. But now she's realizing something. Political idealism has no place in reuniting Mandalorians. There will always be political dissension, but it's up to the leader who is wise to be able to navigate the adversities that come with individual thinking. And Bo-Katan Kryze is becoming wise. Does she deserve to lead? Maybe, maybe not. In the past, I've said she definitely doesn't deserve it. But Bo-Katan has developed into something more than we could have seen. She's learning from past mistakes. Her own guilt of helping divide the Mandalorians is weighing heavily on her. But in order to have a strong leader, that leader can't just possess physical strength. They have to be wise. A leader who has both qualities will be able to unite the Mandalorians under one banner, without a question of who should rule. I understand that Din Djarin is the title character of the Mandalorian series, and that he will likely become the leader of the Mandalorian people, but that's if all continues the way it's going. Maybe Din Djarin isn't the title character after all. Maybe the Mandalorian refers to another. Maybe the title character is actually someone like Bo-Katan Kryze or even Boba Fett. Remember, he's already a powerful warrior, and he's now learning to be a wise leader as well, looking out for the well-being of his citizens. But as of now, Bo-Katan Kryze is making a strong case for herself. In Star Wars Rebels, when Sabine Wren obtained the Darksaber, we thought maybe she was destined to lead and reunite the Mandalorians. But in a change of events, we found out it was always Bo-Katan. She made mistakes though. She ruled as if it were her right and she shouldn't be questioned. Now she's different. Lineage and the possession of the Darksaber are not what makes a strong leader in her eyes. When we think about it, the Children of the Watch have also broken the creed. When Mandalore was being attacked by the Empire, they ran. They didn't come to the aid of their Mandalore. They then claimed exclusivity of the title of Mandalorian. Din Djarin is still brainwashed by these ideals. Whether that's from a lack of knowledge of anything outside the Children of the Watch or by his own decision, he isn't ready to lead, carrying the mindset that the Children of the Watch is the only way to be a Mandalorian. Trying to atone for his transgressions after meeting other Mandalorians, it shows Din Djarin isn't ready to be the Mandalore, but Bo-Katan Kryze may be. But I'd like to know what you think in the comments. I really do enjoy reading what you have to say, and I do try to read all the comments. You take time to write them. The least I can do is take time to read them and respond to as many as I can. If I ever get to make this channel my full-time job, I can guarantee that I will be far more active in the comments. And before you go, another quick word from our producer. Yeah, it's me. Hit the subscribe button and give the video a like. I'm really trying to hit the 50,000 subscriber mark, and I'd like you all to be a part of that next phase of this channel. The YouTube algorithm is more difficult than deciphering ancient Sumerian text, but together we can conquer it. Thank you all for hanging out with me today. Until the next video, this is Gerald, a Star Wars fanatic, wishing you all great health, happiness, and peace. Thank you all for watching, and remember, this is the way, and positivity in the Star Wars community should be the only way.